Hello everybody, welcome into the live. So we're just getting set here real quick before the adjustment and we go through the full appointment. So it's not just the adjustment, because when a new patient comes in, before I do any testing of them, I always have them fill out a complete form set. And then after the form's filled out, we go through it together, ask questions. There's usually a lot of things that pop up in people's history between what caused the pain, where is it, what kind is it. That's really helping me kind of diagnose where's the source of the pain, because that's going to dictate what the treatment plan looks like for everyone. Everybody's so different, your body's different, your injuries are different. So I like to go into a nice deep history so I can learn more about you and what your body is presenting like and how we can help you best. After we do that history kind of taking, that's when we start going into more of that testing. So say someone comes in with low back pain, before we do the testing, I like to tell them like, hey, this pain can be coming from a few different areas. It can be the muscles along the spine, it can be the joints in the back of the spine, it can be the disc. There's a few different things that could be going on. So we're going to be doing these tests to help really pinpoint down where that is truly happening at, so that we can change our techniques, because there's so many different styles of techniques, and I like to have a wide variety in my toolbox so that depending on what you're presenting like and how loose your ligaments are, I can change and modify my amount of force, my amount of rotation, my amount of power, so that you can get best results. All right, so then after you run through the history, I would have someone jump up on the table, or sorry, once you run through the history and the testing, I would have the patient jump up on the table, so Aundrea can do that now.
Do you want to do any tests or anything?
I mean, some of the basic testing that I do on every single patient, even if you're coming in for wellness care, I'm always going to be checking range of motion. That is just going to give me an insight into how your body moves, because even if you're not going to pain, so many people will have like flexion of the neck, looking down might be fine. Extension is generally a little bit limited because as your head goes forward, it extends less. And then also looking at rotations and bending side to side tells me a lot about how you hold your neck and shoulders and everything while like sitting at a desk. So many people are turned looking at one monitor like this all day that the musculature on one side of the neck is much tighter and limits turning to the other way. So doing that range of motion, even if you don't have pain, is a great way for me to get to know your body, how it moves, and all that. So for the table, it's a lot like the massage table. It's a little bit lower though, and it's not as cushiony, especially the headrest. You can easily fall asleep on a massage table. A little less likely here, though I have a lot of patients ask to just take a nap real quick because it's so comforting laying face down. But then we'll just change the face paper and keep it clean so it's nice and sanitary and we don't get face grease all over it. All right, so for the adjustment, most of the time I have patients start face down. That allows the spine to decompress a little bit. I can feel the musculature along the spine. Yep, and then there is a hand rest at the front, so I like to have the hand rest rather than the arms at the side, because that's going to help open up the shoulder blades so I can really feel that kind of mid-back area. And then one of the first things I do is kind of a wiggle, and I go through feeling the musculature along the spines, walking my hands up too, feeling how those ribs move, because as a chiropractor, what I'm really looking for is how well the spine moves. Some people are hypermobile, they move too much. Some people are hypomobile, they don't move enough, and that really tells me what we need to do. And you might be hypermobile, like Aundrea has a lot of motion down here in the low back, but as I work my way up the spine, it starts getting stiffer, and it's like pushing into a block of wood. There's a little bit of give, but it's not much at all. So that tells me that we really need to focus on here, but it makes sense because she's over clients all day, using her arms to dig into people. So going across the shoulders and then down into the arms is very important. So then after I feel the musculature, see where I want to focus. Now, if you have a massage before the adjustment, that's fantastic. I don't have to use this as much, but I love to use the Theragun on patients. I've been getting great results with things moving much better and the adjustments going smoother just by spending 5 minutes of massaging the back, getting going. We can focus on glutes, hamstrings, feet even. It really depends on what your needs are. Using this on the feet might tickle at first, but it's great at helping to break up kind of plantar fasciitis, and then also focusing on the calves for that too. So I'm not gonna do that today on her just because you guys don't want to listen to that machine just going. Although thankfully this one's a lot quieter than my old one. I have one of the first generation Theraguns, and that thing's loud. It is like a shop vac or louder, where that one is like a electric toothbrush sound, maybe a little bit louder.
You can turn it on fast.
Okay, that's a good idea. So it's not too loud.
It also does have numerous attachments, so that's nice as well because it can get a little bit deeper or pinpoint things a little bit nicer as well.
Oh yeah. Theragun is one of the more expensive massage gun brands, but for my use of using it so much in office, the battery holds up great, it has good depth, because I'm really looking at trying to get deep into those muscles. Like Aundrea was saying with the Theragun here, there's a few different attachments. The most common one we use is going to be this big dampener. So it is going to be a little bit more broad, a little bit softer. It's good to get more relaxation. There's the ball, which is a little bit stiffer. Similar thing though, a bigger surface area. If I'm doing something like the IT band, I like to use the scraper here because there's some fascial work you can do with kind of scraping muscles. It's a little bit more specialized. The cone is going to be the sharpest one. I really don't use this one that much. It's very intense. It can be good for breaking up in like forearms when you have big knots, sometimes up in the traps, but I wouldn't really go to that unless someone can really handle it, because like I said, it's intense. What I would probably go more towards is the thumb attachment. It's not as fine point, but it's a little bit smaller than like the ball. This is great for getting into the bottom of your foot, forearms, traps if you can take a little bit more. One thing I will tell any patient, do not go above the base of your neck. So if the traps kind of stop right there at the base of the neck, stop there. Do not go higher. The neck has a lot of delicate bones, and if you're just sitting in there with a lot of force just jamming in there, that can cause actually those muscles to tense up more, leading to some headaches. And then you're going to be coming to see me more. And I love all you guys, but truthfully, if I'm doing my job right and you're following instructions, I'm going to see you as little as possible, which is great for both of us. All right.
Some big recommendations too. If you get a Theragun, I know they have minier ones that are a little bit cheaper, but you can also find some that are really great off-brand. I will try to post a link below of ones that I highly recommend. It's usually under $100. I think last time I purchased it, it was right around like $50. It's really great. It has numerous attachments. The battery works well. I don't personally use it on clients. Usually I use the Theragun back there if I do use one, but one of my colleagues that I've worked with in the past, she uses it for all of her clients and swears by it. She uses that at home, and I've also sent one to one of my sisters and my brother-in-law, and they love it. They just got it, and I mean, they enjoy it so much, and it was, like I said, under $100. It holds a charge really well. I'll be sure to post it below. But if you do use the Theragun or any massage gun, Theragun does offer a free online course. It's completely free to use. It goes through the entire process of using your Theragun, cleaning it and disinfecting it, how to properly take off the attachments or use the attachments appropriately, and everything else. And it is really great too for any other kind of massage gun, just to get like an overall how to use it. But you can also find a ton of videos online on YouTube, you know, all over the internet of how to properly use them. That's one thing I see, especially going to places like Princeton Club that offer massage guns for members use, is a lot of people will just overuse them on a muscle or not use them properly, and they don't see the results that they want. So I highly recommend, if you're going to use any, even if it's at your gym, look up a YouTube video, see how to properly use it, how to properly release the muscle, and make sure to never go over your actual bones because it can hurt really bad. Not getting too close to the spine, going over the kneecap, or like Daytona said, going into the upper neck because it can cause a lot of damage and it can cause more pain than good.
Yeah, all great things. And if you don't want to look up the video and you're in the office, please ask us, or you can message us, ask us. That is on our docket of some of the videos I want to make, is how to use the Theragun, certain areas, what kind of directions do what, because how you orientate it with the muscle fibers are going to change kind of what you're getting at there. And that's all for future stuff to come. Let's focus on the adjustment again.
Yeah, right? Maybe at some point we'll make a nice YouTube channel where we will post longer videos going over more stuff that you guys can happily look up.
Yeah. So one of the tools I like to use in the office is the activator here. This is a nice spring-loaded instrument. It's very precise, rubber tip, so it's very gentle, but it's just so I don't have to use my hands all the time. And that's for two main reasons, right? It's if there is a small area that my hands are just a little too big to get in there, so I can do a lot of work on the wrists and feet, and like getting my thumb in there is good and works well. However, the direction I can control a lot more with this activator. And then also for patient comfort, I like to talk to my patients, see what their comfort level is. Not everyone's comfortable with the twisting, or they have that ligament laxity that I talked about before where they're hypermobile. And if I'm going in with my hands and just getting a bunch of cracks, it might sound good and have that quick instant relief. However, for long-term spinal health, this might actually be working better for you than that big force and huge release of all the popping and everything. So when we're going through, I like to start at the base and work our way up. Oh, sorry, Toto. You might have noticed Toto's just walking around back here. But I like to start at the feet. Reason being is this is our foundation for our whole body. You're walking around on your feet all day. So just doing a simple leg check where I see how much the ankle moves, which leg is shorter, bringing it up to see how the pelvis is moving. And you might be able to see like Aundrea's feet, the left comes further than the right. That tells me that there's something locked up, most likely right in here. Now, we're not going to be adjusting her pelvis today, but I will show you some of the ways I do adjust. There's the traditional one where you turn onto your side, where you are almost like a pretzel is what most people say, and then we twist and just put some force in, and you get a lot of pop in the low back. Now, some people love it. It works great for some people, but I'm always trying to see, what does your body need more of? Is it more rotation? Is it more back to front? Where do we need that motion coming in at? If it's more of the back to front rather than more kind of rotation, and you're not comfortable with that rotation on the popping, what works well is the drop piece. So I have a lever here that pops up. There's this little square underneath her pelvis, and then we just set the tension, and you'll hear it fall, drop away in a second. So we'd be trying to induce motion in the direction right here with that drop, and it's gonna sound loud because that drop, those pieces are hitting together, but you will get a little bit of motion in there, and it helps supplement kind of the amount of force I need. So it's less force on the body too than kind of that twisting and just using my hands, because gravity is working with me. Now if we work our way up the spine, like I said, we start hitting more tightness throughout, and the rib cage is a really important area for us to look at, especially in today's society. We talk about how in our office we do focus on that more stress management, stress relief. Your rib cage is actually where the nerves come out that control that fight or flight, your anxiety, that go, go, go. So people who tend to be a little bit more anxious, I find that this kind of lower rib area is a huge stress point. So to get this, we can use our hands. I can use the activator to get out on the ribs more. I like to use a little bit of this area of my hand so I can be nice and precise and get right here. And then what I have a lot of patients do, I have a few different tricks to get patients to relax. Sometimes I sneak it in, sometimes I'll have conversation, or she's already doing the breathing motion, and then there's just a little bit of a pop. And it's just a simple triceps down, And I'm really controlling the depth too. I don't want to push all the way through to where I knock all the air out of her body. I would do it again, breathe in and all the way out. That one I did a little bit more rotation. So that's another thing where, is it straight down? Am I kind of twisting my hands? Because everyone has curves in their spine. You should have front to back curves. You shouldn't have side to side curves. That's scoliosis. But most people, because of like muscle dominance, always using the right side, tend to have a little bit of a curve in there. And depending on how that curve is, it's gonna change how I torque those hands. And then we can come up higher. There's a lot of different techniques to get all different areas. This upper one, we tend to see that the ribs get really tight in those anxious people too, because when we're breathing, instead of coming through the belly, most of the time when you're in that fight or flight, you're breathing through your chest and those shoulders come up, or you're at a desk all day and the shoulders come up. So these up here get really tight too. So what I like to do is use the activators, great. There's also a really fun one to get where you rotate the whole head. And I don't even have to really do anything, just getting the motion in there and applying the pulling force of the muscle helps stretch it and get those moving better. Now, for the neck, I have a lot of patients who request the activator. That's perfectly fine. I'll show you guys how I can easily get directly to the specific bone without having that huge loud cracking. Now, some people's, if they are more mobile, like I said before, they're gonna tend to pop a lot more, but trying to be precise and get to one vertebra rather than the whole neck is really what as chiropractors we're going after. We're trying to get the right direction, force, and be as specific as possible with it. That's why activator is great, and that's why we're trained to not just get pops, we're trained to get the motion into it and have it slide back and forth. So I'll have Aundrea move, or flip over to her stomach. Or not stomach, flip over onto her back. Yeah, when you're face down for a while, it's usually hard to come up. You scooch up just a little bit. So if you notice, I always bring the headrest up. We were taught that in school. The reason being is people are worried about getting like a stroke or something going on in the vertebral artery called vertebral artery insufficiency. It's basically a lack of blood to the brain. And when you bring the neck forward, that gets a little bit of slack into that artery so that there's able to have room for rotation. If you tilt your head back and then try to rotate, you can feel the stretch on that muscle. You're really taking that artery to maximum stress, and it's going to be more likely, though still unlikely. If you're looking at odds, it's not very probable, but there is always a possibility, and let's mitigate that risk as much as possible by adding a little bit of that head tilt forward into there. So when I go through, I'm feeling musculature, I'm feeling how it's moving, I'm feeling up and down, I'm also feeling side to side, and I also will do a little bit of rotation in there too. Now, normally I'm at the top of the table and then I'll rotate side to side, but I don't think you guys just want to sit there and see the back of me and nothing else. So yeah, you feel that nice rope and knot in there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then if I find a knot, a lot of times I'll work that muscle out. Like I said, I don't go up in the neck. I don't advise you to go up in the neck with that Theragun. So using the fingers, I'm just overlapping my fingers like this and going back and forth over that kind of ropey. I do a lot of pulling too. So what I'll do is get underneath the base of the head, pull up on it, and a lot of people love this because gravity's always pulling our head down. So doing a little bit of that traction tends to work really well. Some people I can just use my hands, but what works really well for a lot of people have super stiff necks or a little bit thicker necks, because say you're a wrestler or something, you have nice muscle built up in there, is I'll just get this pillowcase, we'll tuck it underneath, and I'll kind of use that as a lever to get a nice grip underneath the neck. Now I'm not yanking, we're not getting any pops. That's not what I'm going for here. What I'm going for here is just have a nice gentle pull on the neck to open up those disc space. And it's very subtle going into it. Hold for a little bit because we're going for more of that sustained pull to help decompress everything rather than that quick instantaneous release that you generally get with the traditional adjustment. But when I'm pulling, I don't want to, like I said, traction any arteries or anything like that past their point. That's why we like to do that slow and controlled one for traction. So if we're getting right there, let's find it again, on her neck. All we're gonna do is the ear's gonna drop down, a slight tilt, and then right there. So could I have sent it and spun our head all the way around? Yeah, I could have. But like I said, I'm trying to be precise and use the least amount of force possible to get the best results. I want to allow your body to heal to its maximum capacity with the least amount of force possible, because if I come in with too much force, sometimes that does lead to soreness the next day. And though you're still going to get benefits from it, anytime someone is sore or uncomfortable, then we want to get them out of that as quick as possible, right? I mean, you're already coming in with pain. The pain sensation might change with the soreness, but if we can minimize that, I say, let's try it. Yeah, I'm sure people appreciate it too. I will do more work on her later, but you good?
Yeah, it's just my head.
Okay. And then for like Aundrea and a lot of my other patients who work with their hands a lot, whether they're at a computer or doing, I have a lot of scientist patients who are doing a lot of pipetting. That's a lot of forearm, oh, you can't really see me. That's a lot of forearm motion, so good. So we're really working on this part of the forearm and the elbow. Yeah, so I always do some rotation because there's the radius, which is on the thumb side, which rotates like this. I like to feel how that's moving. And then also extension, you should be able to go all the way and have a nice bounce at the end. Now I know she has some hardware in her arm, so her biomechanics are slightly changed. And then we also do the wrist. There's a bunch of little bones in the bottom of the wrist, and when you're always pushing, digging in, it usually leads to a lot of tension in there. So, I mean, if we're getting the wrist, like I said, I can use my thumb, I can use the activator, and it's just a simple kind of feeling the motion, going from bone to bone. And there's one in there, I'm sure she can feel this, just clicking, clunking. It should be a nice smooth motion. There we go. Much better. That's really what we're doing, is trying to get that smooth, fluid motion going into all joints of the body. Not everyone realizes that, but chiropractors can adjust almost every single bone in the body. We're trained mostly on the spine because that's the most important one for us, with the brain stem coming down into the spinal cord and all the nerves exiting the spine. That's really where we want to focus to optimize the health overall. However, there's a lot of things that the nerves can get trapped in between as well. Shoulders, elbows, hips, knees, feet. Can do some jaw. I mostly do more muscle work on the jaw. It's a very delicate area with a lot of side-to-side motion, and we don't want to come in with too much force. So I also like to teach the massage techniques that you can do it at home. Doing sinus work too. There's a nice sinus pump that I show so many patients because between allergies and colds, so many people are congested, and this is just something to keep it moving. I can also use the activator on sinuses. So I just like to have a lot of tools in my tool belt. And how I end almost every single appointment, not everyone is gonna end like this, just because sometimes we're already just checking in, but I always end with exercises. So what do you need? So say her right side is more developed than her left on the back. I'm gonna give exercises to help target strengthening the left and then relaxing the right so that we have good balance. I'm looking at balance front and back. So your core, your abs, and your low back are roughly balanced. So we don't have too much pelvic tilt one or the other. Those exercises are gonna change for everyone. Now I say it's not gonna happen every time of getting a new exercise, because I might check in with you and be like, yeah, no, I didn't do the exercise you gave last time. I'm like, okay, well, here's your reminder to do them again, and let's really focus on the ones I already gave you. I'm not gonna give you more exercises if you haven't done the first set of exercises, right? But having that ability to take your health into your own hands is huge for me, and I want to give that to all my patients so they don't have to rely on me to come in for adjustments every other day to feel good. I want them to be able to have the techniques to get better health throughout their spine and rest of their body. And exercises are a great way to do that. It's just like brushing your teeth. You could go to the dentist every week, or you could brush your teeth and floss and only go every once in a while. I'm gonna opt for the later option, not going to the dentist all the time. All right, so I know that was a little bit longer than most of my returning patient adjustment, but hopefully you guys learned something. If you have questions about something, please comment, let us know, message us, and I will dive deeper into it. If you want to see a video more about different techniques, I can dive more into that, but definitely look out for our next live. And yes, Toto, I'm on the ground next to you. Yes, I love you so much. And if you need to de-stress and come pet Toto, as you can see, he would love some attention and pets. Oh, yes. All right.
Oh, he's a boy.
Yeah. Anything else, Aundrea?
I think you covered most of it.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to hearing from you guys, and we look forward to sharing more information so you guys can de-stress and take control of your health again. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.